Hold on to your Westminster wigs, folks, because when I say deadly clash, I'm not talking about actual swords at dawn, though honestly, given the state of British politics lately, that might be more civilized than what we just witnessed. No, this is about something far more explosive. Rayner dropping political bombs on Nigel Farage's doorstep while he's busy trying to dismantle the Online Safety Act faster than you can say free speech absolutist. And trust me, this digital drama makes EastEnders look like a documentary about knitting. Welcome back to UK Pancakes, where we serve up political chaos hotter than a phone that's been doom-scrolling Twitter for 6 hours straight. Today's feast features Deputy Prime Minister Rayner throwing haymakers at Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, all because he wants to scrap laws protecting women online. It's like watching a heavyweight boxing match where one fighter is using legislation as their weapon of choice, and the other is wielding constitutional principles like nunchucks. Buckle up, because this political cage fight has more plot twist than a soap opera written by caffeinated conspiracy theorists. But here's what's absolutely mental about this whole situation. We're literally watching two political heavyweights duke it out over whether protecting women online means censoring the internet, and both sides are throwing punches that would make Mike Tyson proud. So let's dive into this digital gladiator arena where the stakes are women's safety, free speech, and potentially the future of British internet regulation. Rayner has just dropped what can only be described as a political nuclear bomb, warning that Nigel Farage and Reform UK could fail a generation of young women by scrapping online safety laws. Now, when the Deputy Prime Minister starts throwing around phrases like failing a generation, you know we've moved well beyond polite parliamentary disagreement into full-scale political warfare territory. It's like watching someone escalate a disagreement about dinner plans into questioning your entire life choices. Picture Rayner's strategy like this. She's essentially painting Farage as a villain in a digital horror movie where young women are the victims and online predators are the monsters lurking in every comment section. Her demand that Farage explain how his party would keep young women safe when they use the internet isn't just a policy question. It's a political trap wrapped in moral outrage and delivered with the subtlety of a brick through a Downing Street window. The timing couldn't be more perfect for maximum political damage. With new rules just introduced through the legislation at the end of July, Rayner is essentially saying, we've just rolled out these shiny new protections, and Farage want to bend them faster than last week's fish and chips. It's political theater at its finest, complete with a ticking clock and moral stakes that would make a Hollywood screenwriter weep with joy. But here's where Rayner gets absolutely savage. She's not just offending policy. She's questioning Farage's entire moral compass. When she talks about Reform's plans being dangerous and irresponsible, she's not critiquing legislation. She's essentially calling Farage a threat to British womanhood. That's not just political criticism. That's character assassination delivered with the precision of a sniper and the impact of a wrecking ball. Now, swinging into the opposite corner wearing the colors of constitutional rebellion, we have Nigel Farage and his merry band of free speech warriors at Reform UK. Farage's party has vowed to repeal the law and replace it with a different means of protecting children online, which sounds reasonable until you realize they haven't actually explained what this magical alternative system looks like. It's like promising to replace your car's brakes with something better while refusing to specify whether that something is rocket boosters or prayer wheels. The Reform position, when you strip away all the political grandstanding, is fascinatingly libertarian in the most British way possible. They're essentially arguing that the Online Safety Act is like installing CCTV in every living room to prevent domestic violence, technically effective for catching bad behavior, but at the cost of turning everyone's private digital space into surveillance state. It's the kind of argument that sounds brilliant at 2 a.m. in a university debate society, and slightly less convincing when you're explaining it to parents worried about their teenagers online. But here's where Reform gets properly clever, and I mean sneakily, brilliantly clever in that way that makes you simultaneously impressed and slightly concerned. They are not just opposing Rayner's policies, they are completely reframing the entire debate. When Reform Councillor Layla Cunningham says, you don't protect women by silencing speech. You protect them by securing borders, enforcing the law, and locking up actual criminals. She's performing political jiu-jitsu that would make a martial arts master jealous. Within hours of Ofcom enforcing the new law last week, Gaza and Ukraine content was being blocked, while pick-up artist content and child modeling sites weren't. Now that's the kind of detail that makes Reform's argument look less like paranoid rambling and more like legitimate constitutional concern. It's like discovering your home security system only protects against specific types of burglars while leaving the front door wide open for others. This brings us to the absolutely crucial battle of narratives that's happening here, and it's more intense than a Game of Thrones plot twist. Labour is painting this as Farage versus women's safety, which is about as politically toxic as it gets in 2025 Britain. Meanwhile, Reform is framing it as government censorship versus constitutional rights, which appeals to anyone who's ever been frustrated by content moderation on social media. Both narratives have serious political firepower, and both sides know exactly what they are doing. Farage has told a grieving father of a 15-year-old boy who took his own life after being blackmailed by predators online that VPNs make the Online Safety Act useless. Now, that's not just a policy argument. That's a devastatingly personal example of why the current system might be failing the very people it's supposed to protect. It's like pointing out that your expensive burglar alarm doesn't work if thieves just come through the back window instead of the front door. The really fascinating thing about this clash is how both sides are absolutely convinced they are the real protectors of British women, just using completely different methods. Rayner thinks protection comes through government regulation and digital safeguards, essentially building a protective bubble around the entire internet. Reform thinks protection comes through traditional law enforcement and catching actual criminals, basically arguing that you don't need internet speed limits if you just arrest the dangerous drivers. Here's where the politics gets properly spicy, though. Cunningham's challenge to debate Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, is pure political gold. It's essentially saying, if you're so confident in your moral superiority, let's have it out properly instead of throwing accusations across the parliamentary void like angry teenagers on social media. That's not just policy disagreement. That's a full-scale intellectual duel with national television coverage and political reputations on the line. The statistics floating around this debate are genuinely sobering when you strip away the political weaponization. Labour's claim about almost 1 million young women experiencing intimate image abuse isn't just a number for political point scoring. That's nearly 1 million real people dealing with what can only be described as digital terrorism. When you put it like that, Rayner's position sounds less like political grandstanding and more like basic human decency wrapped in government policy. But then you've got Reform pointing out that the act has been live for barely a week and is already blocking legitimate news content while apparently missing the actual harmful material it was designed to catch. That's not just technical incompetence. That's a kind of spectacular policy failure that makes voters question whether the government can organize a brewery visit, let alone regulate the entire internet. The broader implications of this clash extend far beyond just online safety laws. This is really about what kind of country Britain wants to be in the digital age, and frankly, both visions are terrifying in their own special ways. Do we want a regulated internet where government bureaucrats decide what's harmful content, potentially stifling legitimate debate about important issues? Or do we want a digital Wild West where individual responsibility is the only protection against online predators and abuse? What's absolutely certain is that this debate has more lives than a parliamentary cat and isn't going anywhere soon. With almost 1 million women affected by intimate image abuse and growing concerns about government censorship, both sides have enough ammunition for months of political warfare. Rayner's demand for Farage to explain his alternative isn't just political posturing. It's a genuine policy question wrapped in a political bear trap. The challenge for voters, that's you brilliant people watching, is cutting through the political performance art to understand what's actually at stake. Are we talking about protecting vulnerable women from genuine digital harm, or are we watching the government use legitimate safety concerns to justify broader internet censorship? The frustrating answer is that we're probably dealing with both simultaneously, like trying to perform surgery with a sledgehammer. Here's the really uncomfortable truth that neither side wants to acknowledge directly. What happens if they are both partially right and completely wrong at the same time? What if online safety laws are both necessary for protection and dangerous for free speech? What if the current system doesn't work, but scrapping it completely makes things worse? These are the kinds of questions that make for terrible political soundbites but excellent governance challenges. The political calculations on both sides absolutely fascinating to watch. Labour gets to position themselves as defenders of women, while painting Reform as recklessly dangerous to vulnerable people. Reform gets to champion constitutional rights while questioning Labour's competence at actually protecting anyone. Both positions poll well with their respective bases, which means this political cage fight has enough fuel to burn for months. Thanks for watching UK Pancakes. If this digital political showdown has left you questioning everything you thought you knew about internet safety and free speech, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments whether you think the government should regulate online content or traditional law enforcement is enough to protect people in digital spaces.